Hi. So I want to show you how to do joins and how to go through the logic and the thought process of joining a set of data. So we're going to go ahead and look at one of the homework problems, the continuing case with Lagrange coffee distributors. This continuing case 2.2, if you read through the narrative, they give you some information, but then they say they want to join. You're required to merge these four tables appropriately for gross margin data analysis. So I'm going to download the data and I'll show you how to do this inside Power Query, which is built in Excel. So you can see these four tables here are on each of these four spreadsheets. And so you're going to need to be able to identify what each row represents so that you can kind of engage in this reasoning about, okay, what level of detail is lowest level of detail? So in a nutshell, every row in the customers table represents a customer. So that's a customer named Natural Grocery. Second row here is a customer named Time Hotel. And we have information about those customers. Inventory contains information about each of the products that we sell. So there's a different type of coffee in inventory and then information. So every row is a different product or type of coffee. Sales orders, think about a sales order. A sales order is going to contain information about the customer. So we see a sales order is linked to a customer. So if we want to figure out more information about the customer on this, we'd come back to the customers and look up 3 in the customer ID, and we could get information that this sales order was sold to Urban Mist Cafe. So these each represent a cell, but on a specific cell, there could be multiple products sold. And that's where we're going to capture this information here in the sales detail file. There's a specific sales number, a specific product ID. Notice how sales number 1 has 4 different products. If I wanted information about those products, like product 100, I'd go look up 100 in inventory and I'd see that it's organic Hawaiian light roast 5-pound bag coffee. And so by knowing our data and being literate, we know that we're probably going to take, if we wanted to get the entire total for this order, we're going to basically sum up the number of products sold on this order. There were 4 different products, but there were 5 units sold. So I could say on order 1, there's 5 units sold. So I'm aggregating my line items. I'm calling each one of these a line item. I'm aggregating them up to an order. But then I could aggregate orders up to customers. So I could talk in terms of how much revenue has each customer generated. So if I'm looking at customer 3, I could go take a look at the sales orders that were placed by customer 3. If I just filter those out, you can see if I count them, well, it's not going to work because when we do this, it includes all of them. Is that right? Is that right? You got to be careful because if you notice here, there's hidden rows there, and sometimes it counts more than you expect. But you can see all these orders are placed by customer 3. And so I could aggregate their order totals up to a customer level, and I could say, hey, customer 3 has generated X amount of dollars in revenue. So you see kind of this aggregation process. Think about how I would aggregate these numbers up for a report. The lowest level would be these line items, the sales details, and I could aggregate those up. A specific sales number is going to have multiple line items. See, sales has 2, order 2 has 1 sales order 3 has 4 items, so on and so forth. And then I could aggregate these orders up into customers. I'm going to clear the filter here. I could also take these line items and I could aggregate them up in products, and I could say this product has generated this much revenue. So you get kind of a sense of the hierarchy, and that's helpful when you're joining data. So if I don't want to lose any information, I want to make sure that I keep it down at the lowest level of line items. In other words, I want to make sure if I jump to the bottom and highlight and I count those rows, there's 52,802 rows. I want to keep that many rows as I proceed to join. So let's start with this file. To make it easy to join, we're going to use Power Query. And since the data is already inside Excel, I'm just going to go extract that data from Excel. So I'm going to go to Data, Get Data from other sources, and from Table or Range. You could also do something like from File. And let's actually do that. It's a little easier. I'm going to say from Excel Workbook. And then I'll just go load in this workbook again. So let's give it a minute to load up. It's in my downloads. I'm going to take that workbook. It's going to go connect to it and basically ask me, okay, which of these tables do you want? And I'm just going to take the ones that have this icon. These are worksheets. So I'm going to take those worksheets. I'm going to select those, and I don't just want to load it. That'll bring it into Excel, which I already have here. But I want to transform it because I want to do some data cleaning on it. So what I just did when I loaded that is I invoked the Power Query editor. It's kind of hidden and dormant in Excel, but when I go to the Get Data, I'm invoking the Power Query editor. And you can see my 4 tables here, my 4 worksheets. I'm going to start with my sales detail flat file, and I'm going to join in the sales orders to it. And I could join in the inventory if I want, but I'm just going to kind of take it in this process. So if you take a look at sales detail flat file, it has a sales order number. If I look at the sales order, it also has a sales order number. It's the primary key in sales orders. It's a foreign key in sales order numbers. So I'm going to join them on that. So sales detail flat files, I'm going to go to home. There's this combine area. And I'm going to go to merge queries, and I'll make sure I just create a new table out of this final join. So I'm going to say merge queries is new. Up here, I select my sales detail flat file because I selected it here. It comes in by default. And I want to join it with my sales orders. And then I have to click and say I want to join these 2 tables based on the primary key here and the foreign key there. So the sales order number, that's the column they have in common. And I'm going to do a left join, which says I'm going to keep all the rows from the first. That's my sales detail flat file. And remember, because that's the lowest level of detail, I'm going to aggregate up from there. I wanted to keep all the rows in there. So I keep all from the first, and then I join in matching from the second. When I do that, you'll see right here, it says the selection matches 52,802 of the 52,802 rows from the first table. So as I go through this process, I want to continue to keep 52,802 rows in my final results of my join. So I'm going to click OK. When I do that, you'll see these 3 columns came from the sales detail flat files, and then it kind of glumps and combines all the columns from the sales orders. I can go ahead and expand that. I'll expand them all. You could select if you didn't want some. For instance, we wouldn't need the sales order number. I'm going to click OK, and you'll see it brings in the other columns from the sales order tables. Notice the sales order prefix on this. It says sales orders dot sales order date, sales orders dot plan ship date. So it always gives you a table dot column name format. And that's just to help you figure out, where did order date come from? Well, it came from the sales orders table. And then I'm just going to rename this table so I can keep track of it. This is going to be my orders combined with my line items. Every row in my sales detail flat file table, I'm considering a line item. So I've combined my orders and my line items. Now I'm going to go repeat this process. I'm going to go merge queries as new. I'm going to merge my orders line items with my inventory. So I'm going to merge in my products. They have product ID as common, a common column. In line items, orders line items, it's a foreign key here. It's the primary key there. And I'll do a left join because I want to keep all 52,802 rows up here. And you'll see that it's matching all of them. And then I click OK. And once again, it brings in all the inventory. I don't need my product ID. I'm just going to bring in all the others. And you'll see it appears to have brought in a bunch of nulls. And that could be a problem because there's like empty columns there. So what we could do is we can just go ahead and delete these. You may or may not see those, but you could go delete those columns before. They're just empty. Now I've got my orders, my line items, and my products merged together. Now I just want to go merge in customers. So once again, merge queries as new. I'm going to merge in my customers table. And here I have a customer ID, and I need to go find that here. I would find my customer ID. Where did I stick that? It's going to be on my orders. Product ID, sales order number. Yep. Sales order date. Sales order, customer ID. There it is. Sometimes it takes a while to find it. So in my customers table, it's the primary key. But in my orders, my sales orders table, it was the foreign key. And again, I'm going to continue with the left join because I want to keep all the rows in my original line items, which I've now merged in ordered information and product information. Now I'm going to merge in customer information. Click OK. I'm going to expand the columns. I don't need customer ID because it's already in here. Then I'll just call this all data. So now when I'm all done, I can click on this and I can click close and load. And it's going to bring it in. Notice it brings in all of them, but I can go find my all data. And here's all the data merged. And then I could use this for analysis, start analyzing the gross profit margin ranges and changes. So that's how you would join this data. And hopefully you can see the process as we go through. So you've got to be aware of what kind of joins do I want? Which rows do I want to keep? Because if you join it wrong, you'll start dropping information that you may not have wanted to drop. Hopefully that was helpful.